We've not seen The Fiend or Bray Wyatt on WWE TV since TLC, when he was literally turned into a human barbecue by Randy Orton. But we could be just 1 week away from his brilliant return to the WWE. So, what happens if Bray Wyatt returns at the Royal Rumble? He's definitely going to return on Raw now I'm making this video, isn't he? We'll see. Hopefully it's still the Rumble. Well, to work out The Fiend's return, we have to look at how he was ridden off of television at TLC. He was set on fire. We all know it, but it has a meaning. To Bray Wyatt, all this stuff that he does, every little detail means something. So, fire purifies. We know that a person cannot abide the fire. They would burn up, so may not be cleansed in a physical fire. But if we're saying that the Fiend somehow withstood the fire, and the Fiend or Bray Wyatt lived through the fire in some weird wacky way, then that surely means that Bray Wyatt / the Fiend has to be a purified version upon their return. And I think the most obvious statement is that he's going to target Randy Orton. And there's no shock Randy Orton's changing. Of course, Alexa Bliss's Fireball made sure of that, donning a new mask last week on Raw, and seemingly absolutely enthralled by fire itself. Kind of resembles something that we may have seen before from Randy Orton. Fire was an obsession and he ended up burning down the Wyatt family compound. As we like to say on the channel, life is a circle, Randy. So it's definitely possible, with all the different faces of Bray Wyatt that we've seen already, that there's a whole new entity coming to WWE. It might be darker. It might be nicer. We have no idea. But I would say it's most likely we get a brand new face of Bray. We know that there was loads of rumours before it was announced that Orton would be in the Rumble, that there would be a Firefly funhouse match at Royal Rumble 2021. Now, things like this don't just come around out of the blue. Things like the Firefly funhouse match takes weeks to prepare for, because you have to actually get things in for that specific match. But unless something dramatic happens this week on Raw, which it's definitely possible it's going to, Randy Orton is entering the Men's Royal Rumble match. So there can't be a Firefly funhouse match. There can. Randy Orton could find himself alone in the ring. He might even win the match. But Randy Orton could be the sole person in the ring for 1 second. The next entry could be Bray Wyatt. But Bray Wyatt may not even have to enter if Randy Orton randomly just teleported away. A cinematic style added to the Royal Rumble match just for this one little feud. Of course, Randy could be teleported to the Firefly funhouse itself. And then during the Royal Rumble match, we could get a Firefly funhouse match mid-Rumble. And then you just cut back to the ring like no time has elapsed at all. It could be interesting. And with no one else in the ring, it would be fun. And I think if you're going to make Randy Orton face his past, there's a great segue there. For once Bray Wyatt is finished with Orton, he sends him back to the Rumble, and the next entrant is Edge. Of course, from Randy Orton's past, and things will go differently, and I think Edge will obviously throw Randy Orton over that top rope, and they will begin their feud. Life's a circle. I know that's a wacky idea, but I do think it would work, especially if Bray is not an entrant in the actual Rumble. If he just randomly showed up on the screen because Orton's in the ring by himself, that could be interesting. I think it would work, because the problem is, especially if Bray debuts a new face, and it's a more powerful face, he's either got to be eliminated from the Royal Rumble, or he's got to go and become a champion. If he becomes a champion at WrestleMania, he has to lose the belt eventually. That could be why Alexa Bliss is now being portrayed as a sidekick, if you will, to Bray Wyatt. Because the interesting thing is, we all know Alexa Bliss. And we all love Alexa Bliss anyway. So, having her possibly go into the Women's Royal Rumble, winning it, and going on to WrestleMania, whether she wins or loses, it doesn't really matter and doesn't hurt the Fiend's character at all. And the Fireflies remain happy because we still get a prominent star that we love in that role, in that big main event of WrestleMania in April. Would be hella fun. And I think with Alexa Bliss's new dark side coming out, of course, especially if she faces Asuka, which we know she's kind of had this thing with on Raw as well, it could be really, really interesting to see what she does at WrestleMania. Maybe she customizes her own championship like The Fiend did. That would be really, really fun. And I'd literally hate it because I'd have to spend hundreds of dollars again on another replica belt because, you know me, I've got to have all the stuff. Now, we all know Alexa's Playground. It's her version, kind of the Firefly Funhouse. Now, the interesting point for me is this is so different to the Funhouse. And we know Alexa Bliss has access to the Firefly Funhouse. So why does she need Alexa's Playground? And why is it so different to everything we've seen in the Firefly Funhouse if her and the Fiend are the same? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Unless it's done on purpose. Because what if the new face or old face or whatever face of Bray Wyatt returns at the Royal Rumble, wins the Royal Rumble match itself, goes on to WrestleMania in April and doesn't challenge for the WWE Championship, but instead goes for the Universal Championship and Roman Reigns. We know Fiend and Roman have history. It could be a segue for Bray Wyatt's new face to challenge Roman at WrestleMania. With all the hype for WWE needing 4 big matches for Mania, this is a perfect segue to get to Roman vs. The Fiend. The Royal Rumble winner can go to any brand they want. They remain a superstar on their brand until they win the championship of the other brand. Could be. As we mentioned, Edge, we believe is going to come back at the Royal Rumble, and you got to be pretty confident that whatever happens at the Rumble, that's going to be the restart to Edge versus Randy Orton. Once again, building up to WrestleMania. And it makes sense, there's going to be fans in attendance. This is Edge's big return. He's obviously wanting to be big with this feud, so they're going for it, and fair play to them. So you got to believe Orton is going to be out of the question if Edge does return at the Royal Rumble. Bray's going to need his next victim. And I don't see anyone else except Roman Reigns that he could challenge if he wins the Royal Rumble. Unless, of course, Goldberg defeats Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. It's the one title Goldberg has not held. One world title he's not held. And we know for a fact Goldberg has history with The Fiend. What? Okay, sorry YouTube, I do apologise. But anyway, Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre is happening at the Rumble. If Drew loses the belt, then maybe Bray challenges Goldberg at WrestleMania. We all know that Roman's story will come around eventually because of the Wobbly Walrus puppet, and for the first time in the Funhouse we saw the words, "to be continued." It has to continue eventually. Time is irrelevant. It might even be in 3, 4, 5 years' time. I know it's long-term storytelling, but that's what they're doing. But I do definitely believe a new face is what's coming. Yes, I think it'll be incorporative of all the old faces of Bray, so we'll probably still get Funhouse Bray in some capacity. What that means for Alexa, I don't know. Maybe she's like keeping the spirit of the Fiend safe. Ready for Bray Wyatt to take the Fiend back whenever he needs to from Alexa Bliss. We know with WrestleMania being a 2-night event, WWE would want 4 big matches over those 2 nights. You got to believe they're looking at Bray Wyatt and Alexa and you're wondering, what can we do with them now? What big matches have we got in store? And title matches are not ruled out at all. And I think that's a cool thing. But these are 2 of your biggest merch sellers in WWE today. Not only that, we've seen the views recently that Alexa Bliss has got on YouTube. They've been the highest rated segments on YouTube from Raw every single week, without a doubt, and it's not even close. So you got to believe, with WWE wanting to put eyes on WrestleMania, she's going to be somewhere in the main event. Bray Wyatt's going to be somewhere in the main event. WWE have got gold right now. But make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. What could happen, in your opinion, if Bray returns at the Royal Rumble? If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, turn on those notifications. It's free. Make sure you please like the video, share the video, follow me on Twitter at CWrestlingUK, and I'll see you as always next time. Peace!